Alright, BobalosRex here, and this is the first in a series of fan-made, by me, expansion ideas for World of Warcraft. Now, some of these are more likely than other to happen next, but I'm going to be creating all these expansions, and this one I'm having a ton of fun with, and this is the first one. I call this World of Warcraft and the Grand Sea. Now, as you can see, it's going to be pirate themed. Now, Conspiracy Brain, the president said no pirates, and I say he's lying to throw us off the scent. This is actually going to be a pirate expansion. Now let's get into my pirate expansion. So, here's my paper. Now let's get into it. So imagine this. All these expansion ideas I have, I'm adding new races, because if you look at how it's been going, we got a new class, we need a new race. There you go. Well, though, we did get a new class and race. I still think we're getting new playable races. Alright? Now, let's talk about it. New playable races for a pirate expansion. You know who I'm pulling. Tortollan and Tuskarr. Already a 10 out of 10 expansion right there. Alright. And then they're both gonna have capitals. But let's keep going. So, it's a pirate expansion. We know what we want. Customizable ship with crew. I want my whole Straw Hat pirate crew. Alright. We got mission table on the ship. It's a zone transport. I actually imagine it as an actual moving house that will move between each of the individual zones. You'll have a hearth set. Say you want your ship parked over on that island. Fine. Do you want to dragon ride over, or in this case, storm ride over to another island? Great. That works too. Then you can hearth back to your ship on that island. Bada boom. I think that's great. You know. So, that's the new gimmick. Ship gimmick. That's a good gimmick in my opinion. You got the new playable races. So we got all that goodies. But let me talk about zones, because I actually got great zone ideas. And let's get into it. So, 5 islands to start with, alright? Now, I have changed some of the stuff here. So I'm just going to talk about the islands that I shifted. Now, where could this take place? Well, let's go to the map now. So, the Grand Sea, I imagine, is down this way. So the Grand Sea would be down here, and it's the sea below south of Pandaria, and it's this big open expansive sea with a bunch of little islands all over it. And as the expansion goes on, we'll actually unlock new islands, and they're all going to be related kind of to the Blood Cell Buccaneers, but we're expanding the pirate crews. The Blood Cells just have the leading captain representing them. That's why they've always been talked about. But in this expansion, we're going to see tons of different pirate crews. And the big main hub island is Plunder Island, of course. And I'm going to have the pirate capital also be the first raid. Now, I've been thinking about how this looked a lot, and I've been going between a few ideas, but I actually think the main hub, the Pirate Isle, Plunder Isle, should be like an archipelago. So it's this area is a bunch of grouped islands, and then they're like tightly knit, and then you remember the city from Pirates of the Caribbean? That pirate city where it's like wooden and just like on the water, kind of. Imagine that pretty much expanding through the whole archipelago. And then you'd have one bigger island, which would be Plunder Isle. And I actually was going to put the Tortollan on a different area, but I think the Tortollan could be in the water, the Tortollan capital, part in the water and part also on this island, because the pirates in this area have a respect for the Tortollan and the Tuskarr, because the pirate crews here are a mix of people from all over. Anyone who got lost south of sea, you kind of got funneled into the main big pirate island, Plunder Isles, and imagine a bunch of different connected isles, and it'd be mostly tropical, but mostly just kind of municipal. So it'd be the main pirate city. You'd move up like a little bit more jungle, but then you have the Tortolan capital, and then that leads into like a little water area, kind of like how it had in Zandalar. So it would be like Zandalar, like Zuldazar, but like pirate, and then it more on the water, and then the the Tortolan along the side in the water. Now that would be the main city. That's where you get your pirate ship, and that's the capital, the main hub. Then I did have like a tropical island, but I actually combined that with Tel Aviv. And with Tel Aviv, I want it to be an island that's just all wilderness, all jungle. Throw some wild gods in there. I want King Kong. I want the gorilla wild god. I want freaking dinosaur Loas. Forget wild gods. These are Loas. Gorilla Loa. More dinosaur Loas. Maybe the parrot Loa. You know? We get some good stuff there. And I was thinking this island could also be where the Falcosaurs are native from. So have the Falcosaur original Loa there as well. And yeah, it's just a big wilderness island. And it'd be great. Full of bananas, Tel Aviv. Awesome island there. Now, I did have another island in the spot, but I think, I've been watching tons of One Piece. This is all based on One Piece stuff as well. The main island is kind of based off Sabaody Archipelago. The Tel Aviv version I'm thinking of is based off Ruskana and the Amazon Lily would be near it. So it'd be like Tel Aviv is the main island, and then a little side island where one of the warlords, and we'll talk about those later, would be at. And then there would be a little city there. But think of like tropical wilderness, Loa running all over. Then one island would be a desert island, and I imagine the Grand Sea like this. So let's paint a picture here. So it's the Grand Sea south. You have this desert island that I'm going to talk about right now, up here, south of Silithus, essentially, in sea-wise. And then the main island would be more central base, and then Tel Aviv would be south of... Here, I can show them here. So, the desert island would be like down here. Oh, I can't even. So, the big sea island would be down over here. Or the desert island would be down over here. The Tel Aviv would be down over here. And then the main Plunder Isle would be like south of Pandaria. So we got 1, 2, 3. And then in this desert isle, I was actually thinking it'd be nice to see a built-up Ferraki troll civ. Right? We thought these were the only trolls, but we actually lost a lot of trolls. They got lost there, and they just built it up. Unable to get back up here, they just built up their civ down there. And maybe imagine Ferraki, but with the Zandalari look. And they just built up their desert kingdom. And I'd imagine these trolls, maybe they're a little bit nicer. Then maybe instead of us going there and beating up the trolls, they're like, hey, welcome to our kingdom, you're awesome. We've been having some trouble. And then we helped them stop a rebellion in their own city from one of the pirate warlords. some people may know what I'm referencing there. But yeah, I think that'd be cool. Maybe make it Egyptian based, but troll design. Got crocodiles. Get maybe a crocodile Loa, like a Nile crocodile Loa, I think would be cool. I think that would look pretty awesome. Maybe throw some Tolvir stuff in it if you want, because I'd imagine the refugees would be coming from Kalimdor on this island. And then, like I said, for the Tel Abyad, it's just all wilderness. And then Plunder Isle. So, we got 2 more islands. Well, one of the islands is a reference to Punk Hazard, but I actually had an idea for an elementally based island before I got to that arc. But imagine an island of fire and ice. Banjo-Kazooie did it as well. Banjo-Tooie. But yeah, fire, ice, and then maybe throw in storms flowing through the island. And I also imagined this island would connect to the 5th island as well through a frozen sea area. Alright, so you'd have the normal sea connecting the first 3 areas that you could fly over, but then this area has like a frozen sea that would lead down into the 5th island as well, because the 5th island is going to be a winter island. But let's talk more about the elementally ravaged island. On that island, I would like to see a Titan facility as well. Maybe that could be where Uldaz is. You know, maybe that's where they did the elemental imprisoning. And that's why it's so elementally charged, that island. And then that could have been Tyr did experiments up here. Maybe they were doing some experiments down there. So in One Piece, there was a lab on Punk Hazard, the island ravaged by ice and fire. So it'd be ice, fire, storms, and I mean maybe we get earthquake effects, but essentially the island would have all the elements kind of popping off in there, and then you have this secret Titan facility on that island. And we could also get a whole bunch of elementally charged mounts and critters, you know, more so than we got in this expansion. And I think that island would be pretty cool. And then, like I said, the frozen sea from the ice side would lead into the final island, which would have a big Tuskar presence along the frozen sea area. You thought Iskar was a big Tuskar area. I want this to literally be the main Tuskar capital. You know, a lot of Tuskar here. Maybe have the Tuskar actually be able to come, like, I'm painting this picture as like this sea is kind of cut off, but maybe have the Tuskars have been able to communicate. You know, maybe we haven't heard about it. Maybe because they keep it hush hush. You know, but yeah, I want to see a big Tuskar capital city, tons of tents, like fully realized, right? We saw bits and pieces in Northrend, but I want to see like a big Tuskar area. And then I've modeled this Frozen Isle. I've decided to like maybe make it look like Drum Island from One Piece. You have these big mountain spires towards the middle of the island, the Tuskar settlements along the side, and I also put like rugged otter mounts, so I imagine like a more rough and tumble otter mount, because this is like the South Pole almost island, because it's so far south. Maybe versus, so in Azeroth we got Northrend in the north, which is a big full continent. Maybe in the south it's kind of like the North Pole in our world, so it's more icy, watery, and then like one kind of main structure of mountains, and then the icy sea area around it. You know, I haven't fleshed that spot out that much, but you can also have I don't know. I don't know what other group you could have on the island. That's the one island that I definitely need to flesh out more. But let's get to the raid. Alright? Let's get to the raid. So, the raid would happen in the main capital city. And it'd be like the Grand Fleet raid is what I called it here. And it'd be versus the 7 warlords and the Pirate King. Now, each of the warlords would have actually been in, or 4 of the warlords would have been in each of the questing zones. Alright, you would have seen them in each of the islands. Now, the main island is run by the Pirate King. Alright, and it's more of a trial. Like, none of these characters I really want to die, but we're essentially, like, proving ourselves as a pirate crew. We go through the raid. Some of the warlords we definitely don't beat in the raid, or we fight a minion of theirs for their challenge. Alright, and then the warlords, like I said, would each have their own island, and we would have seen 4 of the warlords' islands, and then in each patch 10.1, we get another of the warlords' island. 11.2, we get another warlords' island that we didn't see the first time around, and then 10.3, we get the last and final warlord that we actually didn't fight at all in the raid. We just fought, like I said, a minion of some of these guys. And then they're the big baddie because they've been doing some plotting stuff the whole time. And then have them as the final island and that themed around them. And like I said, this is a fan main expansion. I do think it would be fun. But that would be my ideal pirate expansion. And yes, I've been watching a ton of One Piece. Alright, and I do not regret it. But yeah, so that's the first one of my wild expansions. You know, if you want to freeze frame. So this was my write-up of stuff that I want to do in each expansion. So I'd give it a title, called this one the Grand Sea. You know, I do want playable races in all these expansions. Every expansion needs a gimmick. For this one, it was the pirate ship. I got myself a landmass. We all need a new landmass. The seas. And then I wanted to do a raid, which I did. And then I wanted to have a final boss for the first raid. And then I had extras down here. Possible mounts, pets, dungeons. I hadn't really figured out dungeons for this one in particular, but you can do a whole ton of dungeons. Maybe some working for the warlords, maybe some against the warlords. Each island would have like themes around it, and you've seen some of the themes around the main 3. For the Winter Island, I haven't really thought of the theme for that, other than it's a Winter Island and the Tuskar are there. But yeah, and then you can also maybe get a hint at some of my other ideas down here if you want to freeze frame that. But I am working on my other ones. I got 4 more to come. Here's a header for if you want to freeze frame that and maybe decipher that. I don't want to show too much. But that's going to be the next one, which will be next Sunday. And then I got to work on the last 3. And I may want to start including Kazalgar into these due to some recent stuff, which you would have seen in yesterday's video. But yeah, that's my pirate expansion. World of Warcraft, the Grand Sea. It's a great expansion. It would be. Maybe one day. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching me ramble about my fake expansion. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.